Hello and welcome to the SP show. We're not going to hang around here. We're going to get straight. What a show. I'm not even going to tell you what a great show it's going to be because we've got to get on with the great show. All right, lovely people, let's go. One thing I genuinely like for a government is to solve problems. We have a problem at the moment with benefit fraud, with benefit fraudsters claiming when they're not entitled, and sometimes they manage to do it. I don't know how they do it, but sometimes they manage to get loads and loads of money. Like they get rich from scamming benefits. And that's a problem. And cometh the hour, cometh Liz Kendall with her brave new plan. £7 billion a year goes on benefit fraud. £7 billion. And Liz Kendall issued a press release this week, and it showed us she is not going to take it lightly. She is going to stop people from driving for a year if they owe money on benefits. You might say to yourself, aren't people who are doing benefit fraud not necessarily the people who take the laws very carefully, and might they not drive anyway? And, maybe you'd be right. And you might also say, what if they're in an urban area where no one really drives anyway, and they can just get the bus or the tube? Don't forget how rich they are because of all these fraudings they've been doing. They are loaded. Some of them aren't. Some of them really, really aren't. So this is the big plan. This is going to save 300 million a year out of 7 billion, about 4%. If you're worrying about the maths, about 4% every year. Is this solving the problem? Maybe this is the right thing to do. Maybe drawing a line somewhere and saying, we're just not going to let you do it. We're going to keep clawing back that money. And yes, we're going to stop you from driving. And we're also going to put pressure on you in other ways. I can't see the other ways yet, but we're going to put pressure on you in other ways. And we're going to build from that 4% upwards. And we're going to get rid of it. It's better to do something than nothing. Or you could say, if it's only 4%, how much money we're going to spend enforcing it, maybe it's better to do nothing and go back and come up with a better plan. Who knows? It's really difficult to say. Benefit fraud is an issue. And don't worry, Liz Kendall, you might remember Liz Kendall tried to be Labour leader once. It didn't go very well for her. Liz Kendall is going to solve this issue. Go on, Liz. Sometimes babies are born really poorly and they go into NICU, the Neonatal Intensive Care Unit. Thankfully, most come out in a couple of days. My youngest, we had to be in hospital for a week or two when he was born. Never quite NICU, but they kept on threatening it. But thankfully, most come out. But some are in 7 days or more. If your baby is in NICU for 7 days or more, it means they're really quite poorly. And whatever does happen, it doesn't end when they get home. This is a poorly baby. So the Conservatives last year said that anyone who has had neonatal care for 7 days or more can have 12 weeks, up to 12 extra weeks of parental leave, because it's going to take a lot longer for that baby to recover. And you might be having a very different parental experience to what you'd imagined. And then this government also agreed, because everybody agrees on this, right? Everybody agrees we've got to help people out here. If that's their situation, we've got to help them out. Labour are signing something into law that says it will be a benefit from day one of employment. So you don't have to have, I think the Conservative Party had 2 months. You had to be there for 2 months or maybe 3 months before you get full workers' rights. And the whole thing this Labour government is doing is day one. You need to have day one, because if you have that experience, you need to be supported. It's going to start in April. This April. It's good, right? Helping people in that awful situation. It's poorly babies. No one wants a poorly baby. We like happy babies. That's like the most obvious thing I've ever said. I'm so basic sometimes. Oh, we like happy babies and unicorns and rainbows. This week we have not one, but 2 questions. And actually, they're both really interesting. So let's have a look. We've got Samuel Hickling, who says, "Hey Tatton, love the show." Love you, Samuel. I have heard a few people talking about how Labour might be scrapping district councils and moving to a more county council and mayor-based system. Is this true? And if so, why? Samuel, it's a really good question. You haven't put a capital letter on the word Labour, though, and that loses you points, I'm afraid. Sorry, I don't make the rules. Labour are looking at restructuring county councils because the way councils work at the moment is that they don't really work. I mean, nobody knows who their councillors are. And if you don't know who your councillors are, how are you democratically responsible? How are you kept in check? You just basically, you and your fellow council members, and they're elected from different parties, so there is an element of scrutiny there, but your people don't know who you are. If you have a mayor, they are in charge of your county. They are bossing it. They are running around the country, meeting other people, doing deals for your county. They're up in Westminster, you know, having heated discussions with Keir Starmer. Come on, Keir, give us a swimming pool. That's not how it works. Cards on the table. I'm here in Kent, and I want a mayor of Kent. I think it makes everything work better. We vote for the person, they then represent us, and there's still a system of cabinet and scrutiny and motions being passed, just like there is in London and Manchester and all the other places. But to have one name who everybody knows, and then after the first one, they're up for re-election. And everyone knows how well they've done or how badly they've done, and you have a meaningful election. I'm a mayor guy. Okay, and question number 2 comes from Tegwin. Tegwin is our real supporter of what we do, and so thank you very much, Tegwin. And Tegwin's question is, how do politicians change perception and the narrative? Is it too much effort and money to do that rather than getting on with the job? Tegwin, your question has been punctuated beautifully. Thank you very much. We need to know that our people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. We've elected them. I think there is too much put on showing off. And if you look at all of the, you know, big moments in Parliament, there's a lot of showing off and there's a lot of bashing, Tory bashings, what they're blah, 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 blah. The last 14 years, £22 million backhole, blah, 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 blah. I hate that. But showing people what you're doing, showing people you're doing a good job, that's the one. That's really important. And hopefully can stop all the people who don't like it. And they're like, oh, they're all the same, they never do anything for us. I think it's really important to show that they're not all the same, what the differences are, and why they work when they're in. So I'm a big fan of spending effort and time to demonstrate what you're doing. We're going to talk about schools now, because schools are pretty big. Some of them are really small for like little children, but it's a big topic. Rishi Sunak said that schools are the closest thing we have to a silver bullet when it comes to social mobility. We want people to go to school, and if you're good at English, you should be able to have teachers who make you really good at English, and then go to do English at Oxford University. I've got an English degree, and then I just went into teaching because I didn't know what else to do with an English degree. Nobody should be held back because they go to a bad school. That's the truth. That's the point. Everybody should be lifted by the schools they go to. And one way in the past that the Labour government set up way back in Tony Blair's time was academies. And the idea of an academy is that it's separate from the local council and separate entity, and it can do what it wants to drive forward that education. Some academies had longer terms, an extra 2 weeks in the summer of school, because they wanted to give their young people more. Some deliberately appointed people who aren't teachers to be in the school. So, I mean, they're talking about historians and Olympic athletes and that kind of thing, teaching what they're good at. And the Conservative government loved them. They thought these were great because they're kind of free market. They are working on their own terms, and then people want to choose to go to that school because it's a good school. There's a new schools bill, though, coming in through Parliament. It takes away a lot of these powers. It makes academies fall in line with everybody else. And the Conservatives are really cross about it. Conservatives think that education is one thing they really did right, because we've got these league tables, these national league tables, they're called the PISA I don't know why. We like did super well. I think we're the best Western nation or something in English and maths. And there's some slightly dodgy reasons for that. But it happened. And so the Conservatives are like, we did schools well, and now you're going to ruin it. And they've got some validation for that. It's not just standard oppositions. And one of the things they did was they said that they couldn't pay more. Everybody had to use the set standard of pay that the government sets for teachers. There was just outrage from the Conservative benches, because they're like, why, if a school's got enough money to pay teachers more and they're trying to recruit the best teachers because they want to give the students the best chances, why would you limit that? So another part of this bill, again, the Conservatives are cross about, is non-specialist teachers. So people who do not have QTS, qualified teacher status, which you get when you've studied at university for a teaching degree or a PGCE. So is it right to allow an Olympic hockey player to come and teach hockey in PE in your school? They might not know exactly how learning works, they might not have that, but they can learn that on the job, and they really know hockey. And if it's okay for hockey, what about a world famous scientist? Maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's wrong to have them in school. Someone on socials said that they're worried about safeguarding, but the school systems sort that out. That's the big question. Should they be allowed? They're going to be banned. There's no question about they're going to be banned, but it's interesting whether they should be or not. And the point here is social mobility, because private schools can pay teachers more. Private schools can hire anyone they want to teach. If there is a chance that the freedoms that the academies had are of any benefit, then right now, private school kids will continue getting those benefits. The 93% of us who go to state-funded schools, they don't have that opportunity. So we're talking about social mobility here, because social mobility is what it's all about. And then just finally, before we go, I want to touch on excluded children. Children who are expelled from school. When I was, 2004, 2005, I was teaching and I went to see a former pupil of the school in the pupil referral unit where he was being taught. And I was there with someone really experienced. I was young and new to teaching, but he was really experienced. As we left, he said to me, statistically, 9 out of 10 of those children will go to prison at some point in their lives. 9 out of 10. I wish that I had a faith that it'd be better, that ratio would be better now. We are failing children who get excluded. And they normally get excluded because they've done something as a result of things not being very well. Happy children don't tend to get excluded from school. Happy children don't get excluded. And this week, we've seen a sentence of 52 years handed down to someone for doing the most terrible thing. But they were excluded in year 9 at school. And there's various ways in which we should have stopped the guy earlier. But if we'd done a good job when he was excluded, maybe he wouldn't just have been stopped. Maybe he could have done something with his life rather than ruined, destroyed so much. We've got to do better at looking after people. That was an emotional episode. We've got a video coming out this week all about political education. Spoiler, we're terrible at it. And then next week, it's the show Saturday morning, and I've got no idea what's going to be in it because it all depends on what happens during the week. But don't forget to leave us questions here if you have a question. And if you don't, you're all right. Just chill. Just chill. There's no homework for you. Lovely people. It's been a pleasure as always. Love you. Bye.